Optimism in Action is produced in collaboration with KAZU, your NPR station for the Monterey Bay area of California. You'll find this episode and archived episodes at kazu.org/sidebar.
Sidebar is brought to you by Monterey College of Law, San Luis Obispo College of Law, Kern County College of Law, and Empire College of Law, located in Santa Rosa.
Welcome to Sidebar, featuring conversations about optimism in action with lawyers and leaders inspiring change. And now your host, Mitch Winnick.
Welcome today to Sidebar Optimism in Action. We are delighted to have as our guest Ron Johnson. Ron is president and CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Monterey County. And not only is he the president and CEO, but he has enjoyed over 3 decades of involvement and leadership with this organization and brought it from a much smaller place to where it serves hundreds of individual students all across Monterey County, particularly in Seaside and Salinas. Ron brings a very fascinating background, which we're going to ask about, because he was a professional football player after growing up here in the Monterey area, and after a career in football, transitioned back to the Boys and Girls Club. So, Ron, welcome to Sidebar Optimism in Action.
Thank you, Mitch. It was a pleasure to be here.
Ron, let's start with what has to be one of the more fascinating transitions. What a leap from professional football to come back into nonprofit administration, but particularly working with kids. What brought you along that path?
Yeah, I think it was really in my DNA to, at one time in my life, be around children. When I was playing football with the Eagles, during the off seasons, we would always have these sports camps. And then also my mother was an educator. She was the principal. And she would volunteer me to speak at assemblies and things like that during the off seasons. And I noticed that kids really they spent that extra second talking to or hearing from someone that played at the professional level. They give you a little bit more of their ear. And so I just wanted to leverage that and see if I could sneak in some positive messages as they were listening.
And that's great. I've looked at the website for Boys and Girls Club, and I'm familiar with it because I've been engaged in nonprofit groups here in the Monterey area. But for those who don't know what the mission and purpose of Boys and Girls Clubs are, tell us a little about the program.
The club serves kids that are as young as 6 years old and all the way through their high school careers. So 6 to 18 years old, and it's for boys and girls. Typically, we're targeting kids that are somewhat at risk, that might not have access to luxuries and things like that, but just as capable, just need the opportunity. And so what we provide is an after-school centers where kids can come, they can get their homework done, and then just have a variety of enrichment activities. They could play sports, they could study art, science, technology, and then we're also always working on their character and leadership skills. There are clubs that we offer in those areas. We have a Torch Club and a Keystone Club, and those are like community service types of clubs. And then kids are hungry after school and figuring their parents aren't going to get home until 6 or 7 o'clock. We provide an after-school meal for them. It's more than a snack. It's a full-on meal. And that'll hold them over until their parents come and pick them up. You know, a lot of things going on, little something for everybody. It's not only sports and rec. It's a lot of opportunities for social interactions with their buddies and field trips and just times that they can get along with their friends.
That's really quite extraordinary. I suspect that the needs of children don't really change over time because they still need that type of academic support and character building and community building. But what have you seen? 30 years, you must have seen some transitions. What's different now, if anything, than when you first started?
The most difference was the change in the demographic. When I first joined the club, the dominant ethnicity was African Americans. That was about 55% of our kids were African Americans. And the Latino students that would come to the club, it was still a significant number. I would say about 20%, but now It's about 75% Latino, and then the African American actually is about 6% now. The thing that I've learned over all those years is kids are kids. They need people that they can trust in, people that believe in them, people that they can go to and just ask for advice and just be a kind of a sounding board for them. And that's been my takeaway.
And I see that not only the types of things that you would expect in supporting young people as their current needs, but I see an area talking about life and workforce readiness. So that's a more future thinking. Talk to me a little about that. That sounds fascinating.
Yeah, that's a workforce readiness is actually it's a priority outcome that comes to us through Boys and Girls Clubs of America. There are over 4,000 clubs throughout the country. And that came about because our mission is to make sure by the time the kids age out of the club, that they are job ready, they've graduated on time, they have a plan. So we were going along and sending these graduates off to the next level. And in some cases, they weren't ready and they crashed and burned. We wanted to make sure that as our kids left the nest of the Boys and Girls Club, that they did have a plan and they did have a college choice that they were going to go to if they were going to get into trade schools. And so what we did was we started this program called College and Career Readiness. That's a wraparound program that focuses mostly on our teens, and we assign a counselor to them. They actually have monthly meetings with these counselors. They talk about goals and talk about the school they want to go to. They talk about even personal goals if someone wants to lose weight or make a team or ask someone out on a date. And then they check in on a monthly basis with their counselor and they talk about what did you do or what do you think you need to accomplish that goal. And then we also are monitoring all the kids' school progress, their academic progress. So we've got permission from the schools and the parents to receive their transcripts. And so we're looking at their grades. And if they're kind of slipping off track, then we're able to dial that back in, contact the people that we need to, and get that student back on track.
So there's really nowhere for them to hide. Your parents are watching and you're watching.
They're just accountable to themselves, but they know every month that they're going to meet up with the counselor and they're going to have that discussion. And then the other thing is we have a speaker series too. So anyone who's a guest speaker for us, they'll share their personal career path and just share how they got to that place. It's in an informal setting. It's typically 20 to 30 kids in the room, and the presenter speaks for about a half hour and then answers questions. And the kids really love that because it can be anything from someone with a career in aviation. We had someone from Language Line talk. We've had bankers, people that are lawyers, and they've just been eye-opening for our kids to hear from these folks.
And I see that there's a very specific program that I found fascinating. Girls' Health in Girls' Hands is one of your program spotlights. And I love the lead in. When girls lead, communities thrive. Girls' Health in Girls' Hands is a flagship program rooted in one powerful idea. Young women deserve a voice in their own wellness. Talk about that program.
That program actually has been around for Girls' Health in Girls' Hands for over 10 years. And it started through the Community Foundation, a collaborative with several other nonprofits. The Boys and Girls Club was the fiscal agent originally. And over time, we just kind of took it over and we ended up actually bringing in kids who used to be in the program. They actually work for us now and they're running the program. But the things that are talked about and the kids benefit from is there's a girls leadership network. So prominent citizens, women citizens throughout Monterey County, they're mentors for these kids and they meet at least quarterly and they have this summit where they talk about all the issues of women in power and just career paths and things like that. Our the kids are as young as 11 years old. It's for 11 to 18-year-olds. So that's the Girls Leadership Network. The other is there's actually a summit that happens also that brings kids from all over the county. And again, I mentioned guest speakers come, and that's hundreds of kids. I would say 200 kids attend this summit, and that happens annually. The last thing that happens is we have our kids learning about how to take care of their bodies, how to make smart decisions with their bodies, the changes that they're going through puberty and all those things. That's not always discussed in the household, but we're able to have those discussions here. It really is more of an alliance with the women and girls where they just really have the opportunity to bond and just be themselves. This one counselor told me one time, when the opposite sex is around, young girls and women, they don't act the same. They're not as authentic as they are when they're just in each other's company, when it's just females. It really is a wonderful program.
Support for Optimism in Action comes from the Monterey College of Law, a nonprofit law school serving the Monterey Bay region with evening classes on campus or in a hybrid online format. More details and applications available at montereylaw.edu. That's montereylaw.edu.
So I would suspect that, having been with this organization, I think 34 years now, you probably have quite a few stories where graduates, alumni of the program, have now gone out, had multiple levels of their career, college, family, their own children, and I bet they come back and see you, don't they?
They do, because they bring their kids to the club and their children are mentors, are club members now. It's the best when you just see members around town and they're doing well and they go out of their way to pay their respects and check in and stay in touch and talk about the great memories and great experiences that they had at the club. It's humbling when they talk about staff. Anthony Toney comes to mind, who was a teammate of mine with the Eagles. He said he was having dinner in a restaurant in Salinas, and a young man had his family with him, and he said, "Hey, you're Anthony Toney, right?" "Yeah." He goes, "I want you to know you saved my life." And he said, "You saved my life?" "Yeah, I used to hang out with those guys that were behind the Seaside Club, and you would tell me to come in. You'd tell me that we could have fun inside the club. And one day I did that, and I kept coming every day. And he said, some of my other friends who stayed out there, it didn't turn out too well for them. But I've got my family," and introduced his family, his wife, and his couple of kids. And he was genuinely grateful for Anthony's urging him to come inside.
Well, I bet it doesn't take very many stories like that make it easy for you to get up in the morning and go into work.
It's a privilege to work at the club. It's such an opportunity. It helps strengthens the community at large. And then what more admirable thing can you do than serve your fellow man, your fellow woman? I don't want people to remember me, "Oh man, what a great receiver. He caught all these touchdowns." And I would much rather at my funeral that they're saying, "Wow, he really helped people, and wow, man of God, and just really made a difference here in this community."
Well, tell me a little about how others can get involved, because I know you have quite a large staff. It's grown over the years, but you also rely on volunteers, I suspect.
We do. In fact, we have our Johnson Toney football camp is going to be later this month. It's the 23rd through the 26th. And that's a big deal. We're expecting 400 kids. And so we need coaches. We need about 15 more coaches. To run the camp really well, you need about 45 coaches.
Wow.
So if anyone out there does have football skills and is good with kids and doesn't have a win at all cost attitude, we definitely can use you. There's a background check process that everyone has to go through. But once you go through that and we train you, we kind of give you the briefing on expectations and the philosophies, then we'll onboard you. We can use you. Just in general, we also, on a daily basis, you're right, we do have 65 people on staff now, but we also need volunteers to help with tutoring, especially reading. We've got this literacy program that's called Read Naturally. And that requires an adult monitor looking over a young student's shoulder and passing them from one session to the next session. But we always need volunteers for that. We have some of our special events like comics for kids and golf for kids, where we use volunteers, the people that are interested in volunteering inside the clubhouse. The academic opportunities are there, and then also the coaches. We've got several sports leagues, basketball, soccer, baseball, flag football. And if people want to volunteer for any of that, just go through the screening process and then we'll get you in here.
I know a lot of times it's easy to get discouraged. The news picks up so many bad stories, particularly about teenage kids getting in trouble, and there's drugs and crime issues. But you get to see the other side. Tell us why we should be optimistic if we really focus in and see the quality and nature of these kids in your program.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, Mitchell. Recently, one of our students graduated today, but she entered into this competition called Youth of the Year. It's a Boys and Girls Club national program. 10,000 kids across the country compete in this competition. 800 competed in California alone. But it's the highest honor that a Boys and Girls Club member can earn, and you can earn scholarship dollars by competing and winning in this competition. And our representative, her name's Nianti, she won the Northern California, then she won the California Youth of the Year, and a couple of weeks ago, she was named the Pacific Region Youth of the Year. Now she moves on to the national competition and competes against 5 other Youth of the Year finalists. And if she wins at that level, she'll earn a $50,000 scholarship and a car that was donated by Ford Motor Company. Nianti is a 4.4 GPA student. She's interested in becoming a pediatrician, and she volunteers regularly at the Salinas Valley Health System. She's just a breath of fresh air, one of those people when she walks into the room just kind of lights up, and she can handle herself in just about any setting. I've seen her excel and just charm everyone that shook her hands. She's somebody also that gives back to our younger kids. She's regularly helps with tutoring and anything that we need at our Salinas Clubhouse. She's there for us. So we've got a culture at the club that it's really big on giving back and paying it forward. And the kids that we're serving, altogether, it's about 7,000 kids that we're touching. They're great kids. And I believe all kids have the potential to be fantastic and to do great things in life and to be contributors to their communities. And it's just an honor to see when a kid starts out not going with the program or just not understanding, and the switch come on and they get it. That's just the most rewarding feeling in the world.
Ron, you mentioned that you said there are 4,000 Boys and Girls Clubs across the country. So what this really says, if somebody is listening to us on this program and the mission of the Boys and Girls Club and the call for volunteers to help resonates with them, the odds are pretty good there may be a Boys and Girls Club in their community.
Oh, they're all over the country. And in fact, there are clubs on military bases all over the world. To your point about if you're interested in getting involved in a youth organization where you want to be a mentor, we even do efforts during the holidays where we take our highest need kids and we sneak around to the parents and get their Christmas gift wish list. And then we ask community philanthropists to sponsor them. We do all the shopping and then we sneak the presents into the parents' car and they're able to have a Christmas with the gifts under the tree. That's one of our cooler programs. We did 350 families last year.
So looking in the future, you've had this wonderful career, a little over 34 years working with the club. As you look to the future for Boys and Girls Club, do you think it's more of the same, and I mean that in the positive way, because more of the same is fantastic? Or do you think there are new challenges the club will need to adjust to as it moves forward?
That's a great question, and I think about this all the time. And really, I think there are a lot of great things happening with our clubs. I think the quality of our programming is stronger than it's ever been. And now we're at the point where we're wanting to scale that out more. So we're now at a place where we're looking at other communities. I believe every community should have a Boys and Girls Club. And so we've been operating in South County more over the past few years with the Girls Health and Girls Hands program. And we do some school day programming that addresses mental health. But we also recently partnered with the city of Gonzales. They opened a Teen Innovation Center. Fantastic facilities. It's brand new, right next to a brand new library and a middle school and a high school. We're down there 3 days a week, just running program out of there for teens. It's not exactly like our traditional clubhouses at the Salinas and Seaside locations, but we're seeing anywhere from 50 to 100 kids every day there. So that's kind of a neat program. I think we need to be in Monterey and Marina and Carmel. I would love to see a future where there are clubhouses in a pretty balanced region of Monterey County.
That sounds wonderful. I'd look forward to seeing that. Let me wrap up. I know you did mention football, and it's pretty hard for those of us who, look at professional football players and kind of get this glow about us. You had a wonderful career there, and then this extraordinary career with Boys and Girls Club. Can you talk a little about what do you think football or the process of your football career taught you in preparation for this now exceptional career in nonprofit leadership and working with kids?
I would say the coaches that I had in football, and I'm dating all the way back to my high school days, coaches instilled in me and my teammates this attitude of you work hard and you have discipline and fair play and don't cut corners. All those lessons, they followed me throughout my whole career. I thought about all those lessons that coaches poured into me, and then lots of knockdowns and get back up. Just get back out there. Those life lessons, they are transferable. They work on and off the football field. And I saw some of my teammates, they didn't have the luxury of those experiences that I had with those great coaches. So I think the thing that I learned the most from football to working here for this organization is you are going to have some setbacks and some challenges. And you can't let that derail you and deflate you. The stakes are too high. We've got too many kids that need our support.
Well, Ron, thank you for joining us today on Sidebar Optimism in Action. There was no doubt in my mind that with the work you've done for now over 3 decades in leadership among children and teens and coordinating the resources of a community to provide support for that critical part of our population that we count on for our future, I knew it was inherently an optimistic pathway, and in fact, you've proven me correct. Thank you on behalf of Sidebar for what you do, and thank you on behalf of the community for all this hard work that you've put in.
Thank you for having me, and I appreciate your work and your kind words, and keep in touch with us.
Be glad to do so. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to Sidebar, Optimism in Action. For more episodes and information, go to sidebarmedia.org. That's sidebarmedia.org.
Sidebar would not be possible without our producer, David Eakin, who composes and plays all of the music you hear on Sidebar. Thank you also to Dina Dowsett, who creates and coordinates Sidebar's social media marketing.
Optimism in Action is produced in collaboration with KAZU, your NPR station for the Monterey Bay area of California. You'll find this episode and archived episodes at kazu.org/sidebar.